So anyway, that's what SMART goals are, and they're very practical. So are they biblical? Well, let's take a look. Let's begin with specific, the very first goal. The very first part of the SMART goal is specific. When we look at specific, I think of actually what Jesus said in Luke 14 when he talked about counting the cost. He said if someone's going to build a tower, are they going to just go build the tower without making plans? Do they not have to count the cost of the foundation? Do they not have to count the cost of everything involved, all the materials and everything to build that tower? They have to plan diligently. And he's specifically talking about counting the cost to be a follower of Christ. There's persecution that's going to come. You'll be hated by the world. Those are things that we as believers need to count the cost for. And there are principles, though, for setting goals here that I think that we can take from that parable, from that passage. We must count the cost in our goal setting. So that passes the test. The S is biblical. Very good. Let's move on. M, measurable. Goals being measurable. Well, certainly we know that everything is measurable in our spiritual walk. There is a measurement of our growth in Christ. We are saved by grace alone through faith in Jesus Christ. It is through the righteousness of Christ that we can be saved, that you could be saved. And if you're in Christ and you're watching this, you know that we are not saved by good works. We are saved by the works of Christ. However, once we are saved, there are works that follow as evidence of that salvation. These are the works that were prepared beforehand. That's what Ephesians 2:8-10 tell us. These are the works that God has prepared for us. And we also see in Galatians 5 that we're to put off the works of the flesh. We're to be walking by the Spirit, and there should be more fruit of the Spirit that are being exhibited in our life. Of course, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. These are all the fruit of the Spirit that should be being exhibited more and more in our life. And so definitely measurement is very biblical. All right, well, it's looking pretty good for SMART goals. We've got the S has passed the test. The M has passed the test. Let's look at the A, attainable. Should we set goals that are attainable? Well, we know the Bible is very clear, and Proverbs tells us that gives us much wisdom on setting goals that are attainable. We don't want to go after worthless pursuits. And in fact, Proverbs 28 verse 19 specifically tells us not to go after worthless pursuits. It tells us not to follow worthless pursuits. So what would be a worthless pursuit? Well, there are a number of worthless pursuits. Certainly having a goal that's not God-honoring. Having a goal that's not in line with God's desires, having a goal that's not even a Christian goal, that would be a worthless pursuit. Also, a worthless pursuit would be something that, again, is not relevant for the way in which God has called you, the way in which God has gifted you, the talents that God has given you. If you set a goal like that, that is a worthless pursuit. Get rich schemes. Those are worthless pursuits. Now, there are good business opportunities out there. There are legitimate business opportunities, but anything that's too good to be true, anything that doesn't, hey, you can make a lot of money, okay? You know what you need to do? You don't really need to work. You don't need to do any of that. You don't need to put in any effort. No, that's not part of it. Just sign up for this program and the money will flow in. That is a worthless pursuit. Or, of course, you've probably seen the ads that are like, hey, if you want to get fit, if you want to lose weight, everyone has been telling you up until this date that you need to watch what you eat, you need to watch your diet, you need to exercise, you need to work out regularly. They're wrong. You've been doing it wrong for all these years, and all generations, and all history of all humanity. They've been wrong this whole time. Sign up for my program here today, and I'll tell you the secret that no one else has ever figured out in the history of all humanity. Yeah, that would be called a worthless pursuit, to pad someone's pocket. Yeah, so there are many worthless pursuits there. We don't want to follow worthless pursuits. So where in the world was I at? We're at attainable. We don't want to follow worthless pursuits. We want to set goals that are attainable, that are achievable. These are goals that we can see how we can reach them through the process, through disciplined action, through following process. You often hear athletes say when they have great feats. You hear businessmen say when they have great accomplishments, I trusted the process. They should be saying I trusted God, but many of them aren't Christians. But they will say things like, I trusted the process. That's because there's a system in place. There's a system, and they have to be disciplined to follow that system. And the Bible, in particular Proverbs, talks about being disciplined. It talks about the need for discipline, the need to follow systems, if you will, the need to be habitual about doing the things that you need to do when you need to do them. That's basically what we're talking about here. And you need to see how you can reach the goal. This doesn't mean you don't set big goals. This doesn't mean you don't set stretching goals, but you don't set goals that are obviously pipe dreams. Like the person that says, I'm going to be a financial planner for people, but they can't even figure out how to save a few dollars themselves. No, they need to be goals that are in line with what you're already skilled at, with what you're already talented at, and with what there are gifts that people are seeing in your life. Those are the goals that we need to set. Spent a long time on attainable, so let's move on. Relevant. Goals that are relevant. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. Forgot to write down time-bound. But yes, these goals need to be relevant. I already basically talked about that. These are goals that are within the arena that God has called you to. God has given each of us specific gifts, and He's given us specific talents, and we're to work within those talents. In fact, we're to steward the resources that God has given us. And a talent is one of those resources. God has gifted each of us in a certain way. And for Christians, there are spiritual gifts then that we have. But there are God-given gifts that each and every human that is created in the image of God, imago Dei, every human has a gift that they can use. It is not a spiritual gift if they're not regenerate, they're not Christians, but all believers and unbelievers alike have talents that they need to work on, and if they continue to work on those talents, then they will be successful in that area. So Proverbs 28:19 talks about this as well. It says, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread. That's the first part of the verse. Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread. If you don't work your land, of course, you won't have plenty of bread. And that's talking about the diligent versus the slothful. But then there's also the fact that you should be working your own land, not working someone else's land, not working a job that you're not good at, not going into a field that you don't have talents in. We need to recognize the talents that God has given us and the way in which God has gifted us. So absolutely relevant passes the test. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, I'd say they all pass the test. Let's look at time bound. Should we set goals that are time bound, that have a deadline on them? I say yes, we absolutely should set goals that are time bound. We know that we are to redeem the time because the days are evil. Now, that is primarily talking about time being short before Christ's return. I understand that. The days are evil. But there are principles there about the stewardship that we should have of our time. In fact, Jonathan Edwards wrote a sermon about redeeming the time. This was a man that was very focused on the use of his time. He was very focused on being disciplined with the time that God had given him, and he was a great steward of that time. And as believers, we all need to be great stewards of our time. And so I think that putting deadlines on our goal is a very good way to create that focus and even internal pressure on ourselves to reach that goal by that certain date. All right, so that's what we say about SMART goals. Now, there's some things that we need to keep in mind, of course, as Christians, as you set goals. All of our goals need to be submitted to the will of God. All of our goals need to be prayerfully done. And let's talk about this a little bit more specifically. How should Christians set goals? Thank you for watching. I do hope that was a blessing. If you did appreciate that, be sure to like it, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, you'll be notified of new videos whenever they come out. And God bless you. Have a great day.